Okay. How is everybody?
Good.
Good. Who's excited about Thanksgiving?
It's good for you.
Tell me what you're excited about. All right. What are you excited
I
about?
get to see my baby cousin.
Awesome. What are you excited about? Food. Food. What are you excited about? Food? Okay. That's it. We've covered everything that most everybody says. Every year I ask this, I get the same answers. They're excited. People are excited about traveling. They're excited about seeing family, and they're excited about food. Okay? Now, this year, some people are excited about shopping. Okay?
No.
Because that happens the next day. This year, while you're having your Thanksgiving dinner, I want you to remember that you have one friendly Native American to thank for that occasion. Who is that? Who is that? Squanto. Now, the first year I did this, I got on the internet and I studied. I said, oh, I'm going to teach these young people something. And I found out that you guys already know about it. So there wasn't a lot I could teach you. But let me tell you a couple of things I feel like I can teach you. The first thing I can teach you is that I feel like this turkey is the meshing of two cultures. When the Pilgrims first got here, they bumped into Squanto. Squanto spoke English. Doesn't that seem odd to you that Squanto spoke English? Now, there's a lot of people out there who think that God just created the world and just put it in place and backed up and let us fend for ourselves. I don't believe that. And I believe this Squanto situation, this Pilgrim situation, is exactly an example of it being the case that God intervenes in our lives. Because what's the likelihood of them traveling all the way across the ocean and finding one Native American that can speak their language? That to me was a God thing. It takes a whole lot more faith to believe that wasn't than it was, in my opinion. Now, this turkey, like I said, represents the meshing of two cultures, and here's why. The Pilgrims had never seen a turkey. There wasn't any turkeys where they came from. But the Native Americans, they'd lived with them all their lives. And you know what this was to the Native Americans? Food. Food. But they had to harvest them. They had to hunt them. They had to figure out how to get them and put them on the table. And you know what they figured out? Because they lived in thin-walled huts and teepees and things like that where they could hear outside, they learned a lot about these turkeys. And what they learned is they have a dialogue. They actually talk to each other. You know why they talk to each other? Because there's safety in numbers. Their best line of defense is their eyes. They see the most minuscule movement. I've had hen turkeys as close as from me to you from me. And I wasn't moving at all. And she ran like I had shot at her. You know why? You just did it. I blinked. You did it again. Don't blink. Don't blink. There he goes. He blinked. Couldn't help it, could you? I couldn't help it either, so I blinked, and guess what? She was out of there. She picked up on that motion. So that was their best line of defense. Well, the Native Americans figured out that if they figured out they make certain sounds, and those certain sounds caused them to act in certain ways. And first of all, I think they started out making those sounds with their mouth. Now, not everybody can make that sound. And necessity is the mother of invention. So I have this vision. See this right here?
Yeah.
This is a wing bone turkey call. Okay? You know what it's made out of? The bones out of a turkey's wing. It's made out of this turkey collar is made out of a turkey. And these have been found in archaeological digs going back over 1,000 years. Now, necessity is the mother of invention. I have this vision of some Native American father having a young son, and he can't do that. So he's not going to get close to turkeys because he can't get them in. So, I don't know, maybe he named him Little Scares the Turkeys, okay? Well, his dad is eating a turkey one day, and he starts getting the meat off this one bone and sucks on it a little bit, and the sound comes out, and he says, oh, I wonder if I could make that into a call. Well, here's what happened. And we still use these today. This was the first call that was made with the purpose of getting a turkey to respond and come closer so we could take them. Now I said this is the meshing of two cultures. There was benefit for both people here because these folks brought weapons over that could reach out a little farther. Had more accuracy. And one of the challenges with the Native Americans was they were usually using bows and arrows. Well, these turkeys will not tolerate movement. So they get them in close, and now they're close enough to take, and they got to do that. Well, the turkey's not going to stand for that. But the other weapon, so that was another way that the cultures were meshed. Now, nowadays we use different calls. And I'm going to share with you some of the sounds that turkeys make. Young turkeys, when you guys were much younger than this, I know you don't get scared like this anymore. But when you were 4, 5, 6 years old, did you ever get separated from your parents in a mall or a store or a public area? And what'd you do? Huh? What'd you do?
Like, my dad, we were doing shopping, and I went to the bathroom, and he forgot to, like, wait or something, and he went, since it was a really big store, and then I got lost when I came out.
You got a little panicky, didn't you? Did you call for your daddy? What about you? Did you call for your father or mother?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just told one of the store owners, and they told me to say at their desk, and they call. Very smart.
Very smart. That's what all little children will do. They'll go get help or they'll call. Okay. Well, young turkeys, when they get separated from the parents, they call like this. Now, what they're really trying to make is the same sound that they hear their mother making, which is called a yelp, and it goes like this. Come in.
Or you can sit in your chair.
Now, as turkeys grow up, as they get older, and you guys are you boys, you young men are going to go through this yourselves. When you get about 13, 14, somewhere in there, your voice is going to start squeaking. Okay, your voice is going to start changing, and you're going to be talking, and it's going to go like that. And it doesn't make any sense to me why that would happen, because you're going to end up with a deep, manly voice eventually. But to get there, you got to go through that voice changing. Well, this is what young turkeys sound like when their voice is changing. Okay, remember they're trying to make that yelping sound, and as they mature, their vocal cords get to the point where they can, and it starts sounding like this. Now, about the time that your voice starts changing, guys, you're going to start liking girls. That's right. That's right. And guess what, girls? Guess what, girls? You're going to like them back. That's right. You're going to like them back. Now, watch this. This is a boy turkey. And you know what he's doing? Now, let me have your attention. You know what he's doing? He's showing off. He's strutting, right? Okay? He's strutting so he can show he's the big guy. Look at me, how pretty I am. Okay? He's showing off for his girlfriend. Okay? Now, this is a posture that he does in the spring. Now, here's what happens in a typical day of a turkey. They sleep in trees. You know why they sleep in trees?
No.
Because coyotes and foxes and things like that can't get to them in the trees. They're protecting themselves. It's an instinct. It's something that their mother taught them. Fly up in a tree. You know what they do? There's a little tuft of feathers right here that they put their head under. It looks like they got their head under their wing. They sleep all night with their head under their wing. And the Native Americans knew this because they'd seen it happen. But as the lights come on, if any of you guys ever been outside early in the morning when it's dark and the sun start coming up,
Yeah.
the woods comes alive. If you're just in the woods, the birds start singing, the owls start, ow, ooh, 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 ooh. And this turkey will be in the tree, and he'll hear that owl do that, or he'll hear a crow go. Okay, because the crows they don't do that at night. They do that right after sunlight, right after the sun comes up. I'll get to you in a minute. Okay, just remind me. All right. Now, as soon as that happens, you know what those turkeys do? They get that head out from under them, under their wing, and then they go into that strut up in that tree, and they make this sound. They're gobbling, okay? You know why they're gobbling? They want all the little girls around there to know I'm over here, and I want you to come be with me. You're over there, and I'm over here. I want you to come spend the day with me. Now, when you guys get to be older, you're probably doing it already, you're going to use text, instant messaging, cell phones, and that type of thing to communicate with one another. These turkeys, they just do this. They just gobble. Okay? Now, all these calls here are calls that people have invented. And I brought several calls, and that's what you use. The Native Americans, that's all they used was this. And now we've learned how to make so many. The only call you can make with this was that yelp. But now we can do things like that gobble. We can do the yelp. We can do that young turkey sound. And there's one sound that turkeys make when you guys, us parents know when you guys are happy. Because you're laughing, giggling, you're off playing somewhere. We know the sound that you make. Okay? This is the sound of a contented turkey.
Yeah, it sounds like a dog.
Okay? Now, at my house, when my youngest was out playing when he was 7, 8, 9 years old, and it was time for him to come in, we'd call for him. Skylar! 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 No answer. Skylar James Perrin! Okay, guess what? That got his attention. Okay? You guys know when your parents say all three of your names, they're serious, aren't they? Okay? Well, mother turkeys do that like this. This is Skylar. No answer. It becomes this. Now, guess what happens? Them little turkeys come running then because they know Mama's serious. Just like you guys when your parents say all three names. Now, we've learned to make these calls with. We've made all kinds. This is called a diaphragm, a mouth call. And any one of you guys can learn how to use this, but it'll take some practice. Okay, I don't have one you can try, but you can go anywhere, like a Dick's or a Walmart, something like that, and buy these. This one cost me about $10.
Whoa.
It's a more expensive one. Okay, but you can buy them for as little as $5. I buy this one because it really sounds like a turkey. And you can make all those calls with that with some practice. But I'm going to show you some things that you can make calls with right now, and it won't take any effort. Okay, all you got to do is watch. Hold this like a pencil, but I stick my finger out like that. I rest my hand right here like so. That gives me a place to be stable. Then you hold this at an angle. And the reason you hold it as an angle because the angle is what creates the noise. Watch this. Now watch when I come back. No sound, right? You see me come back? No sound.
Cool.
Now, I could change the angle and do it this way. Okay, so you get the. It's easy for me to do it like this, and I leave it on the face, and you just make a little, just put it in a circle about the size of a quarter. I'm gonna pass this around and let y'all try that in just a minute. First, I'm gonna show you how to run them. First, I'm gonna show you how to run them all. This one here is really easy. Same thing. Never lift it up. People always make the mistake of trying to lift it up. It's not necessary. It doesn't make any sound going that way. Watch that. No sound. See, I just barely drag it the other way and make sound. So, no sound. Everybody in here could call a turkey to them with this call today by making that sound. Okay? I got one more to show you. I'm not going to let you take that one because that's my favorite. No, that's not my favorite. Watch this. All you got to do with this one is this.
Cool.
Now I've got several. I'm going to pass them around and let y'all play with them.
Yeah! Yeah!
Now pass them around after you play with them for me. I got more. I'll pass them around. I won't give you that one because you got to put your mouth on it, but you can actually make a gobble call with it, and we can do that. Yeah. All right. Let me just tell you something that might sound really strange to you. We have a lot of turkeys around here now. I've seen turkeys real close to where I'm standing right this minute. Okay. Not too long ago, I went down to the end of this road and took a left on 401. There's a set of apartments just on the right after you head north on 401. That apartment used to be a field. I've seen turkeys in that field. That river bottom over there, the Neuse River, it's full of turkeys. Okay. I live in Wake Forest. I have a little bit of undeveloped land behind my house, and I've seen several turkeys. I had 6 gobblers just like this that I fed in my yard. I threw scratch feed out for them, and they'd come eat every day. I just like seeing them. Okay, they'd be there every day. You know, I really enjoyed watching them because I learned that they make this posture in the wintertime. I learned that they fight all the time, and when they fight, they make this particular sound when they fight. That's called a fighting purr. And their heads are going around like this. They're wrapping their heads up one another. They're jumping up, trying to flog each other with these fins, with these spurs. They're establishing their pecking order. Okay, you may have heard people talk about a pecking order. They're establishing their pecking order. And this dominance, a lot of times I'll see turkeys in the spring and one will come in. There'll be 2 turkeys come in with these long beards. That's how you know they're mature, because they have long beards. But one will be strutting and the other one isn't. You know why that is? Because one of them is the boss. He's the one that's bold enough to strut. The other one, he's thumped down. He's beat him up so much he's afraid to strut. Okay. Now, there's 4 species of turkey native to this country. This one is called a Merriam's. I took this turkey in Nebraska. Okay. I went all the way to Nebraska to get this turkey, and it's called a Merriam for a reason. And this is something that happens throughout species naming. Okay. There was a man on the Lewis Park expedition. His last name was Merriam. He was the first one to ever document the sighting of this particular type of turkey. And it's named a Merriam because of that. And what makes it special is these rump feathers. You can't see them too well, but these feathers here in the back that are buff colored, kind of tan colored, they're not like that on our eastern turkeys. They're brown. They're dark brown. We don't have these. And some of those, many of them actually, of these Merriam's turkeys have solid white. They're so pretty. They have solid white rings in their rump feathers and around the tail. Okay. Now, here's the one thing I want to tell you. So you're going to see a lot. Have any of you ever seen turkeys around here?
Oh no.
Wild turkeys. Okay. You're going to see them more and more and more. I've seen them in Falls River subdivision. I've seen them in Stonebridge. I have. Now, I wouldn't tell anybody that for a long time because I knew they'd think I was crazy. But I was coming down near Almond Court where Peridot comes into, what is it, Whitestone? Right in that area, and I saw a hen fly over, and I saw it, and I said, I'm not going to tell anybody that because nobody will believe it. But then I happened to mention it to somebody, and they said, yeah, I've seen them too. Okay. So there are turkeys that are coming back. And here's the reason they're coming back. And this is going to sound so odd to you. They're coming back because of hunters.
Why?
Why? I'll tell you why. Because somebody had to fund the effort it took to reestablish them. And the only ones that really cared enough to put any money on the table was hunters, because they had something they could do, they could enjoy by bringing them back. Well, here's what they tried to do to bring them back. First of all, they tried to raise turkeys and turn them loose. And guess what happened? They all died. You know why they died?
Why?
They had no survival skills. When these turkeys come out of the nest, when they come out of the egg, rather, they imprint. It's called imprinting on their mother. And that means they're going to do what their mother says. They're going to listen to her voice. They're going to come when she calls, because she's their survival mechanism. She teaches them survival instincts. I'll tell you a really interesting story. Where I went to take this turkey, one of the brothers of the outfitter, he raised 23 turkeys that imprinted on him. You know why? Because they would cut their hay fields, and turkeys will build their nests out in something where they can hide, but still see when the sun hits the ground. You know why they do that? They do that because they instinctively know that if they don't get dry, when they come out of the egg, they're wet. And if they don't get dry quickly, they're going to get pneumonia and die. Okay? They don't their brain is not but that big. They don't have the ability to reason that out. Our good Lord put that in them. That's an instinct. They know that they need to put their nest where the sun hits the ground. Well, they'd build their nest out in the middle of a hayfield, and these farmers would come along and cut the hayfield, and they'd see the nest, and they'd go around it and leave it, and guess what? They didn't make it. You know why they didn't make it? Because every predator, every coyote, every fox, everything that ate turkeys knew there's something in that bush over there. I'm going to go check it out. And they end up killing them and getting the eggs. So my friend figured that out. He picked up 23 of them one year, and he took a drawer in one of his chest of drawers and put a light in it and some soft stuff and put all them eggs in there, and those turkeys hatched in that drawer. And guess who Mama was? Him. They imprinted on him. He would make a little call and they'd come. Okay, he'd just whistle a little bit and they'd come. Well, after they got a certain age, he got up one morning and 3 of them were gone. Coyotes had got them. You know why coyotes had got them? He hadn't taught them to get up in a tree. He hadn't taught them to roost, is what it's called. They roost in trees to get away from the predators. So you know what he did? He got up on his roof that night and whistled for them. They all flew up there, and that's how they learned that survival skill. Okay, so he became the mama hen and taught them the survival skills. In our situation, what had to happen was we couldn't raise turkeys and turn them loose because they wouldn't have those survival skills. We had to find turkeys in the wild, and they invented a thing called a cannon net. They could throw corn out in a place where there was a surplus of turkeys. They'd come to the corn, they'd shoot the cannon net over, catch some of them, put them in a little box, carry them to another place, and turn them loose. And all the turkeys that we have around here, except for this county we didn't have to repopulate. We just had to leave them alone for a while. They had to protect them for a while. But in places where there weren't any turkeys, that's how we got them going. And us hunters funded that. We funded it through, when you buy a hunting license, the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission gets no tax dollars. They get all their money from hunting license sales and excise is put on. It is taxed, but it's not taxed. It's actually levied on the people per se, just for the sake of taxing. They put taxes on things that people would buy so they could have to hunt. We fund that ourselves. So hunters have had a lot to do with bringing the turkeys back. Is there any questions? Yes, sir. Okay. Anybody else? I covered it, huh? Well, thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it. Now, let me just show you this. I brought some feathers, and I'm going to give them to Mrs. Fussell. This is a feather that's fully intact. Some of these have got the ends cut off of them because that's how I get them off the turkey, because it's quicker and it's a lot of work to get them loose like this. But when you guys get to studying the Declaration of Independence, this is exactly what Thomas Jefferson penned the Declaration of Independence with. He would dip this in some ink, write. That ink would run out and he'd dip it in some ink some more, and he'd write some more. Dip it in the ink, write some more.
Well, that would take a lot of time.
That would take a lot of time. Yeah.
And if you messed up, you would have to start over.
And I've got several of these feathers. I'm going to give you enough so everybody can have one.
Oh, yeah!
But I'm